the two biggest things that stop people becoming wealthy. The average Brit checks their mobile phone, wait for it, every 2.5 minutes. Property prices typically double in value every 7 to 10 years. How good is that for your health? How good is that for your wealth? Because it's not free. I haven't got enough time, I haven't got enough money. It's your fault. What? That's a bit harsh. Welcome to this week's edition of Money Matters. As you know, I deeply, truly believe that money does matter. I'm just back from 5 weeks in Florida. I spent the first 4 weeks working on my health, and I spent the last week treating my lovely family, 13 of us, everything included, luxury hotels, a week at Disney. So if you want to be able to do stuff like that, listen first to a short recording that I made outside the clinic that Aniko and myself were at, and see if the amount of money we just spent on ourselves shocks you. I came here, I'm at the Maharaja Institute of Regenerative Medicine, working on my immune system and stem cells. And over the last 4 years now, myself and 3 other members of my family, we've spent more than $600,000 at this place. And with the results we're getting are incredible. Okay, what about that? How do you fancy being able to spend 100, 200,000, £250,000 on yourself so that you live longer and in a healthier state? So are you going to magic £250,000 from thin air? Unlikely. But if you've got 1 property, 2 properties, 3 properties, fairly quickly, could you get to a position where you've got hundreds of thousands or millions, in fact, of pounds in equity? Yes, you could. Property prices typically double in value every 7 to 10 years. At the moment, the average house price is round about £300,000. If you manage to get to the point of buying some properties, and let's say you had 10 £300,000 properties, over the next 7 years, they then doubled from 300 to 600,000. Well, each one of those would have gone up by £300,000. 6 of them times 300,000 is 1.8 million. You could easily increase the mortgages by £1 million, and you could be a cash in the bank millionaire by 2030. What is stopping you from being a cash in the bank millionaire by 2030? Simple, you are. What are the kind of bullshit excuses that people tell themselves as to why they can't do that? The two biggest things that stop people becoming wealthy through property. And generally, of all the excuses we give ourselves, the two biggest are these: money and time. That's it. Let's dig in a little bit and let's look at time first. I'm sure all of you would agree with me if I said, time is your most valuable asset. Instinctively, you'd say yeah. So my question to you is, why do you waste so much of it? And there's a couple of areas that I want to dig into in terms of how most people currently waste their time. The first one is very, very simple. The survey after survey that proves it. 84% of people in the UK are addicted to their mobile phones. If you go into your settings and you check your screen time, please do that for me. Please look at how many hours a day you're spending on your mobile phone. A very good friend of mine has kindly agreed to share her screen time stats, and here it is. Is that or is that not shocking? Hours and hours every single day on the mobile phone. Now, you could argue that potentially some of it is value adding. How much? I don't know, but that's not my job, is it? It's yours. The average Brit checks their mobile phone, wait for it, every 2.5 minutes. I bet half of you have already checked your mobile phone during this video, because you're watching it, there's me talking, and a message has flashed up. You've had a WhatsApp, you've had a Facebook message, you've had a text, you've had something, and it's distracted you. What kind of quality of work are you going to be doing on yourself, on your wealth, if you're getting distracted every 2.5 minutes? Do you know most Brits, 84% of them, check their mobile phone just before they go to sleep? What do they do when they wake up? Check their mobile phone. Huge percentage of Brits need to go to the toilet in the night time. So they wake up after 4 or 5. What do? They take their mobile phone with them. So job number 1 for you is, how many hours a day am I on my mobile phone? Would you rather be addicted to wealth and having loads of money, or your mobile phone? You become wealthy. Here's how it works. This is wealth. Wealth is when you own assets, so properties or gold or stocks and shares or whatever, and they give you money in exchange for none of your time. So as soon as you've got enough assets, they pay for your lifestyle, passive income. You don't have to do anything. You've now got 168 hours a week to do whatever the hell you want. But you don't spontaneously become wealthy. There's no house fairy. So if you want to become wealthy through property, you got to get off your backside and do things. And thing number two that is probably stopping loads of you is booze, wine, beer, whatever. Oh, I've had a really hard day. I've just done a 10-hour shift. I commuted for an hour. I commuted for an hour back. I've looked after the kids. I've done whatever. I need to put my feet up and turn off for a little minute, and I'm going to have a glass of wine. Now I'm going to have another glass of wine. Now I'm going to have another glass of wine. Oh, sod it, I've just finished the bottle. So even if you're just drinking a little bit, how good is that for your health? How good is that for your wealth? Because it's not free, but you could easily lose 2 or 3 hours a night because you're relaxing in front of the telly. And you could easily lose 2 or 3 hours the next morning because your brain's not working properly because you got a hangover and you're just thinking, why did I do that last night? And there's many people in the UK that do that on a daily basis. What's your addiction? What's your habit? What's the thing that's consuming all your time? Could be work. More than likely it's your phone to get it under control. And very likely it's something to do with booze. So those are the three things, the three areas that I want you to take some homework to go and have a look at, because if you're giving yourself the story, I've got no time, it's not true. There's nobody that's got no time. Right, next, money. I want to talk about money in two different ways from two different experiences that I've had. By deciding to do further courses with us or coaching and year-long programs, the investment to take those steps to becoming wealthy through property and making real inroads into your wealth are going to cost you. It's an investment in your future of between £3,000 and £15,000. And as soon as people hear that number, they're like, what? £3,000 for a course? £15,000? Yeah, because if you invest £15,000 and 1 year from now, you're earning £15,000 a month, and you've got a £2 million property portfolio, and you wouldn't have had it otherwise. Is that a good investment? Of course it is. If it was free, would you do it? Probably. But you wouldn't actually do it because nobody values anything that's free. They just don't. Let's have a look at some habits that consume people's money, but get them into the position that I can't afford £3,000 or £15,000 for a year of coaching and support and networking and education. What kind of stuff do people do? So I want to give you two examples. I was in a supermarket over Christmas and I saw this, I think she was a young mother because she was buying baby food and nappies and things. And she was in a torn shell suit that was really dirty. Yeah, in my view, she was letting herself down. She arrives at the checkout about the same time as me, and for her baby food and her nappies and a loaf of bread and whatever it was, the total was about £5. And then she said, can I have 20 cigarettes? Now, I've never been a smoker, but what happened next shocked me. The guy turns around, opens the cupboard, gets the cigarettes that I don't even know what they were. And he's like, that's 15 quid. And I thought, what? And I didn't say that out loud, or at least I hope I didn't. She'd spent 5 quid on feeding the family and looking after a baby, and £15 on a habit. £15 a day, think about this, 7 days a week is £105. 52 weeks of the year, 100 quid, 50 weeks of the year between us friends, that's £5,000. £5,000. Oh, and just about as she's walking out of the shop, she said, can I get a couple of lucky dips for Saturday? So she's buying lottery tickets. So she spent another 5 quid on that. That's another £250 a year. If you're a smoker, grow up, take responsibility for what you're doing. It's an addiction. It's costing you a fortune and it's killing you. It killed my dad. It killed Anniko's dad. It killed Anniko's mum. I don't need any more proof that smoking kills people. Number two, I was once talking about, I was giving a course on service accommodation, and I was talking about the fact it really winds me up that a lot of people don't provide enough teacups and teaspoons in an apartment. Why is that relevant? Well, there was this woman in the front row from London, and she's hearing me rant on about the fact that people have 7 drinks a day. That's just a fact. I used to work for drinks companies, I know this stuff. Typical Brit will drink 3 or 4 cups of tea a day. And I was just talking about the fact that, you know, for goodness sake, if there's only 3 or 4 teacups there and 3 or 4 teaspoons, you wash it up all the time. Just put some more teacups and some more teaspoons in your service accommodation. What was the gist of what I was saying? She pipes up from the front, because I'm from the north, born in Yorkshire. I was giving this course in Doncaster. She'd travelled all the way up from London, and she was outside the M25 and she was a bit dizzy. And she said, in quite a snooty voice, I have to say, do you not have Starbucks? Yeah, I'm talking about making cups of tea, you know, with tea bags. And she's talking about, why don't you just go to Starbucks? And I was just shocked. I mean, of course, there's Starbucks and Costa. And I even said to her that in some cities in the north, they've got electricity. I said to her, whenever you want a tea or a coffee or something, you go to Starbucks. She said, yes, I live above it. Previously, she said, I can't possibly afford one of your courses. I don't have any money. Okay. So I said, how many times a day do you go to Starbucks? She said, well, 6 or 7. I thought, what? 6 or 7 times a day? She goes down there for a morning drink, she goes back for a breakfast, she goes back for a lunch, she goes back for a mid-afternoon coffee and cake or whatever it is, then she goes back in the evening. How much do you spend? And she said, well, probably £10 a visit. £10 a visit, that's £70 a day, 7 days of the week, that's 490 quid. Call it £500, that's £26,000 a year. Do you realise you're spending £26,000 a year? And she looked shocked at that point. I said, do you know how much a tea bag is? And she said, well, no, not really. And I said, about 1 pence. So if you ordered your 7 cups of tea a day, that would cost you 7 pence. So you are spending 26 grand instead of 50 quid. She said, well, I never looked at it like that. If you're one of the people that inhabits coffee shops and spends money like it's confetti, that's the reason you got no money to do the courses, and that's the reason you got no money to become wealthy through property, and that's the reason that you're never going to be a millionaire. To summarise, time, whether it's mobile phones or booze, and I could give you lots of other examples, whether it's smoking or whether it's, I'm not picking on Starbucks, but you know, coffee shop culture, it's easy to spend a fortune. And if you are prepared to be disciplined, cut out some bad time habits, cut out some bad money habits, suddenly you're going to have enough money to invest in the training, suddenly you're going to be wealthy through property. Go back to what I was talking about on that video from Florida. Why don't you get yourself to the position that you can live longer, you can live a happier, better quality of life because you're wealthy through property, and as well as you, your mum, your dad, your sister, your brother, your children. Do you not want them to live longer? What's not to love about that? I do want you to be addicted to something. I want you to be addicted to wealth and becoming wealthy, not for its own sake, but for the choices it gives. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Fascinating. I suspect I'm going to take some flack for this one because I've just told everyone that giving up smoking is easy, and if you're bullshitting yourself, you're never going to be wealthy. I think I'm probably going to take some flack, but I don't care, because if I get just 1 or 2 or 10 or 100 people to become wealthy through property, give me all the grief you